In this video, we'll go over the process to set up Apple Live adaptive bitrate outputs on your Elemental system. Apple adaptive outputs allow devices to stream content based on the available bandwidth that they have and the quality and resolution of the encoded content. So we'll go through and show an example of how to set up a job to create this content for those devices. First thing we want to do is go ahead and create a new job and specify the source file that we want to use. We'll specify a destination directory. We'll leave the default settings for the remaining areas up here. So for adaptive output, we actually want to create multiple output groups. We'll actually add 2 additional outputs by clicking on the Add Output button. On our first output, we want to create a high quality output. We'll go ahead and create an output for an iPhone device, and we're going to go ahead and use our preset that's already defined on our Elemental system. So you'll see that when you actually select this preset, there are a couple group settings that will apply to any of your outputs for this job that are specified as Apple outputs. One is the segment length. So we'll actually break up your Apple outputs into 10-second segments. Those are the points at which clients can actually adjust and pull higher or lower quality content based on their available bandwidth. For Apple outputs, we also support AES 128 encryption. You can also specify a particular output as a priority output. This will be the first set of files that a given device will retrieve when it attempts to stream content. It'll then adjust accordingly based on its available bandwidth. The last option is actually to add an audio-only output. This allows you to create an AAC-only file, which can be streamed to clients if they have a very low bandwidth connection. Go ahead and leave this off for now. Since we've selected our preset, all of our settings are already predefined and pre-populated. You can certainly modify these settings. You can modify bit rates, but generally the standard presets work well. So we have our first output set up, but we want to also provide a name modifier so that we can identify those particular outputs. We'll go to our second output. In this case, we'll go ahead and select our iPhone adaptive medium quality. Again, we'll see that the same Apple Live group settings apply to both output 1 and output group 2. We'll set a name modifier as medium. And again, all of our presets are defined. We'll go to our output number 3. Set our low quality. Set our name modifier. Now we're set. We can go ahead and create our Apple adaptive outputs. We'll go ahead and wait for this to complete, and then we'll take a look at what the Elemental system produces. Now that our transcode job is done, let's take a look at what the Elemental system produced. Bring up our files, and you'll see that we have a number of different files that have been created. First one is the index manifest file. Take a look at what's in this file. We can see that this file contains pointers to each of the individual outputs that we created. We have a high, we have a low, and we have a medium. Those map to all of our 3 outputs. Now, this index file actually points to the M3U8 file, the playlist file for each of those outputs. So we'll take a look at the M3U8 file for our high output. This file actually is a playlist that contains pointers to all of the individual segments. It contains some metadata, sizes of the individual segments, as well as the names of the individual transport stream segments created for an Apple Live output. Last set of files that are created are the actual transport stream files themselves. These are our actual video content. The client device will determine which set of segments to pull, whether the high, or the medium, or the low, depending on the available bandwidth, and it'll adjust accordingly as the bandwidth changes over time. So there you go. Now you should have a much better understanding of how Elemental Systems will create Apple adaptive bitrate outputs.